My child, listen closely. Not because something terrible is about to happen, and not because you should be afraid, but because you have been carrying too much for too long while telling everyone around you that you are fine. I have seen the weight behind your smile. I have heard the thoughts you never said aloud. And I know there is a question buried beneath your prayers that you have been almost afraid to ask. You have wondered whether I still see you. You have wondered whether your tears still matter. You have wondered why the road has remained so quiet when you have asked me again and again to show Lady what to do. Stay here a little longer, because the silence you have been interpreting as distance is not the whole story. There is something about this season that you have not yet understood, and until you understand it, you may continue carrying a burden I never asked you to carry. I know how tired you have become. Not only tired in your body, tired in your heart, tired of explaining yourself, tired of waiting for people to change, tired of waking up with the same concern already sitting in your mind before your feet touch the floor. There are moments when you look at your life and quietly wonder how much longer you can keep being the strong one. You answer the calls, you handle the responsibilities, you encourage others when they are discouraged. You keep moving because you believe stopping would cause everything around you to fall apart. But when the room becomes quiet, the truth rises. You are exhausted. There is a conversation you keep replaying because you still do not understand how someone could say those words to you. There is a disappointment you rarely mention anymore, not because it stopped hurting, but because you became tired of trying to explain why it still does. There is something you asked me for that you slowly stopped asking about. At first, you prayed with confidence. Then you prayed with questions. Then your prayers became shorter. And lately, there have been moments when you simply sit in silence, because you do not know what else to say. I was there. I was there when you tried to pray and your thoughts scattered in every direction. I was there when you opened your mouth but could not find the words. I was there when you wondered whether silence could still be called prayer. Hear this carefully. I am not measuring your faith by how beautifully you speak to me. Hannah stood before me, carrying a grief so deep that her lips moved while her voice could barely be heard. Others misunderstood what they saw, but I understood the pain they could not see, and I understand yours. People may notice your behavior without understanding your burden. They may see you becoming quiet and call you distant. They may see you setting boundaries and call you difficult. They may see you struggling and assume your faith has disappeared. But I see beneath the surface. I know what it has cost you to keep going. And this is where you must listen carefully, because your exhaustion has been trying to teach you something. You have begun carrying responsibilities that belong to me. You have been trying to control outcomes you cannot control. You have been trying to change hearts you cannot change. You have been trying to predict tomorrow so you can protect yourself from being disappointed. Again, you keep thinking that if you worry long enough, plan carefully enough, and prepare for every possible loss, you will finally feel safe. But worry has not made you safer. It has only made your heart heavier. My child, you were never created to hold tomorrow in your hands. You were created to walk with me today. Think of Elijah after the great victory on Mount Carmel. He had seen my power. He had witnessed an answer that could not be denied. Yet afterward, fear found him exhausted, running, hiding, and asking whether he had anything left. I did not meet his exhaustion with condemnation. I gave him rest. I gave him food. I met him in the quiet. There is a truth here you need to understand. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop pretending you are stronger than you are. You do not have to perform strength for me. You do not have to arrive in my presence with perfect words, perfect faith, and perfect confidence. Come tired. Come confused. Come with the questions you have been afraid to ask. Come with the disappointment you thought you needed to hide. I already know, but there is something deeper. The reason I am drawing your attention to this moment is not only because you need comfort. You need to recognize what your pain has been slowly convincing you to believe. You have started confusing delay with rejection. You have started interpreting closed doors as proof that you have been forgotten. You have looked at the lives of others and wondered why their prayers seem to move faster than yours. You have watched someone receive what you have been waiting for, and although you tried to be happy for them, A quiet ache formed inside you. When will it be my turn? You may never have spoken those words aloud, but I heard them, and I am not angry with you for asking. Sarah knew what it meant to watch years pass while a promise seemed impossible. Joseph knew what it meant to carry a dream through betrayal, false accusation, and confinement. David knew what it meant to be chosen and still spend seasons hiding in caves. None of them understood the whole road while they were walking it, and neither do you. But you have made one dangerous assumption. You have assumed that because you cannot see progress, nothing is happening. A seed beneath the ground looks like nothing to the person standing above it. There is no visible branch, no flower, no fruit, only soil. But hidden beneath that soil, something is breaking open. Roots are reaching into places no one can see. Strength is forming before evidence appears. And some of the deepest work I do in your life happens where applause cannot reach you, where other people cannot measure you, and where even you may not recognize what is changing. This season has exposed what you fear losing. It has revealed whose approval you depended on. It has shown you how quickly your peace can become attached to an answer, a person, an opportunity, or a deadline. That revelation is not meant to shame you. It is meant to free you, because what you are asking me to remove may be connected to what I am teaching you to release. And before you ask again when the door will open, when the answer will come, or when the pressure will finally lift, there is one question you need to bring honestly into my presence. What are you holding so tightly that you have become afraid to trust me with it? Do not answer quickly. Stay with that question, because the burden you name next may be the very place where your heart is about to discover what surrender truly means. And surrender does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become passive. It does not mean you stop praying, stop hoping, or stop taking faithful steps. Surrender means you finally stop demanding that peace can come only after everything turns out the way you planned. That is where your heart has been struggling. You have told yourself, I will rest when this problem is solved. I will feel safe when I know what happens next. I will trust when I finally understand why this happened. But what if peace was never meant to wait at the end of the struggle? What if I am teaching you how to receive peace while you are still walking through uncertainty? My child, this is difficult for you, because uncertainty has wounded you before. You trusted someone, and they disappointed you. You believed something would last, and it ended. You thought a door was opening, only to watch it close. You expected an answer, but instead you received another season of waiting. So now you protect yourself. You analyze everything. You replay conversations. You search for hidden meanings in people's silence. You imagine what could go wrong before allowing yourself to believe something good could happen. You call it being careful, but beneath that carefulness is a heart that is afraid to be disappointed again. I see that heart. I know why you built those walls, but I did not bring you here to condemn you for them. I am showing you that the walls you built to keep pain away have also made it difficult for you to receive peace. You cannot control every person. You cannot prevent every disappointment. You cannot arrange every outcome. And you cannot live fully while constantly preparing yourself for the next wound. There comes a moment when faith must become more than believing that I exist. Faith must become trusting my character when your circumstances remain unclear. Peter knew something about this. He stepped out of the boat because he trusted the one who called him. For a moment he walked where fear said he could not walk. But then his attention shifted. The wind became louder. The waves became more convincing. And suddenly, the danger around him seemed greater than the presence before him. You have done this too. You began with trust. You prayed. You believed. You took the step. But then the circumstances did not change quickly enough. The voices around you became louder. The bills remained. The relationship stayed complicated. The opportunity did not appear. The loneliness continued. And slowly, you began watching the storm more closely than you watched me. Listen carefully. The lesson is not that faithful people never become afraid. The lesson is that fear does not have to decide where you look next. Peter cried out, and Jesus reached for him. He was not abandoned because he struggled, and you are not abandoned because your faith has felt weak. You keep thinking you need stronger faith before you can come closer to me. But sometimes coming closer is how your faith becomes stronger. Bring me the small faith. Bring me the tired faith. Bring me the faith that says, I want to trust you, but I am struggling. Honesty does not offend me. Pretending creates distance. You have spent too much time believing that I need a polished version of you. No, I do not. I want your heart, the real one, the heart that still has questions, the heart that is learning to forgive, the heart that sometimes becomes jealous when others receive what you have waited for, the heart that feels guilty for being tired, the heart that wants to believe but is afraid of hoping again. Bring me that heart, because healing begins when you stop hiding from the one who already sees you completely. And there is something else you need to understand. Not every delay in your life is punishment. Not every closed door is rejection. Not every uncomfortable season means you made the wrong decision. Sometimes you are asking me to change your circumstances while I am changing the way you stand inside them. You want the pressure removed. I am teaching you where your strength comes from. You want the difficult person to change. I am teaching you how to love without surrendering wisdom. You want the answer immediately. I am teaching you how to remain faithful without needing constant evidence. You want certainty. I am building trust. This is why you cannot measure my presence by the speed of your circumstances. Consider Joseph. He received a dream, but the dream was not followed by immediate fulfillment. It was followed by a pit, then slavery, then false accusation, then prison. If Joseph had judged the entire story by one chapter, he could have concluded that everything was lost. But one chapter cannot explain the whole book, and this chapter cannot explain your whole life. Do not make permanent conclusions while standing inside temporary confusion. You do not know what is still being arranged. You do not know which conversations are happening without your presence. You do not know what you are being protected from. You do not know which part of your character is becoming strong enough to carry what you have been asking for. This does not mean every painful event was sent to teach you a lesson. Some things hurt because people make choices. Some losses are genuinely painful. Some questions do not receive simple answers. Faith does not require you to pretend pain is good. Faith allows you to believe that pain does not have the final word. That difference matters. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to admit disappointment. You are allowed to say, I do not understand. But do not build your home inside the pain. Grief can be a room you visit. It cannot become the name you answer to. Disappointment can be part of your story. It does not get to write your identity. Rejection can change your direction. It cannot determine your worth. You belong to me before anyone approves of you. You are known by me before anyone understands you. You are loved by me when people stay, and you are loved by me when people leave. Your value is not a vote that other people get to take, and perhaps that is one reason this season has hurt so deeply. You have been asking people to confirm something that only I can establish. You wanted their apology to give you peace. You wanted their return to prove you mattered. You wanted their understanding to validate your pain. You wanted their approval to silence the insecurity inside you. But what happens when the apology never comes? What happens when the person who misunderstood you continues misunderstanding you? What happens when someone walks away without giving you closure? Will you spend the rest of your life standing at a closed door, waiting for someone else to give you permission to move forward? My child, you cannot force another person to become ready for the conversation your heart deserves. You cannot control whether someone recognizes what they did, but you can choose what you continue carrying. Forgiveness does not call wrong things right. Forgiveness does not always restore access. Forgiveness does not mean you must return to environments that repeatedly damage your peace. Sometimes forgiveness happens alongside a boundary. Sometimes love requires distance. Sometimes moving forward means accepting that the closure you wanted may come from releasing the need to receive an explanation. You keep asking, why did they do this? But the question that may lead you toward healing is different. What will I allow this pain to produce in me? Will it make you bitter? Will it make you suspicious of everyone who comes near you? Will it teach you to close your heart? Or will you bring the wound to me and allow me to teach you how to remain tender without remaining unprotected? Ruth knew what it meant to stand inside loss. Her future did not look secure. The familiar life she had known was gone. She could not see the entire road ahead, but she took the next faithful step, not 20 steps, not the whole journey, the next one, and that is what I am asking of you. You keep wanting a map for the next 5 years. I am asking you to be faithful today. You want to know how the relationship will end. I am asking you to speak with honesty and wisdom today. You want to know whether the opportunity will come. I am asking you to prepare faithfully today. You want to know when the grief will become lighter. I am asking you to allow yourself to receive grace today. You do not need every answer to take the next faithful step. There is a lamp for the road. A lamp does not reveal the entire journey. It gives enough light to keep you from standing still. But you have been refusing to move because you cannot see the destination. You have mistaken limited visibility for lack of guidance. Listen to me. You may not know everything, but you know enough to pray again. You know enough to forgive one more layer. You know enough to rest tonight. You know enough to stop returning to the conversation that keeps reopening the same wound. You know enough to ask for help. You know enough to open scripture again. You know enough to stop comparing your life with someone whose private struggles you cannot see. You know enough to take one step. Take it, not because you are certain about everything, because you are learning whom to trust. And if this is the prayer your heart has been struggling to express, you can write, "Teach me to trust you," in the comments, not as a performance, as a simple confession, because there is power in becoming honest about where you are. My child, comparison has stolen more peace from you than you realize. You look at another person's marriage, another person's family, another person's progress, another person's health, another person's confidence, another person's opportunities, and you ask yourself why your life has taken so long to become what you hoped it would be. But you are comparing your hidden season to someone else's visible moment. You do not know what their road required, and they do not know what yours has cost. A tree does not become healthier by staring at the tree beside it. It grows by receiving what it needs where it has been planted. Your life requires attention. Your heart requires care. Your relationship with me requires honesty. Stop spending your strength measuring yourself against people who were never given your assignment. You have your own road, your own responsibilities, your own healing, your own lessons, your own people to love, your own gifts to use, and your own places where courage will be required. Comparison makes you abandon the life in front of you while chasing an image of the life you think you should have had. Return to what is real. Return to today. Return to me. There is still grace here, even now, even after the mistakes, even after the years you believe you wasted, even after the opportunities you missed, even after the relationships you wish you had handled differently. You have been carrying regret as if punishing yourself could change the past. It cannot. Repentance turns you toward me. Shame keeps you staring at yourself. There is a difference. Peter denied Jesus. He knew the weight of failure. He knew what it meant to remember his own words and wish he could take them back. But his failure was not the final chapter. Jesus restored him, not by pretending the failure did not happen, but by meeting him again and calling him forward. Your worst moment does not have to become your permanent address. Learn, confess, repair what you can, ask forgiveness when you should, change the pattern, then stop returning to the grave of a version of yourself that grace is teaching you to leave behind. You keep saying, "I should have known better." Perhaps, but now you do know better, so walk differently. You keep saying, "I lost too much time." Then stop losing today by staring at yesterday. You keep saying, "What if I fail again?" Then stay close to me, remain teachable, and take the next step with humility. Growth does not mean you never struggle again. Growth means the struggle no longer controls you in the same way. And this brings us to what you have been afraid to face. You are not only tired because life has been difficult. You are tired because you have been fighting battles in your mind that never happened outside of it. You have lived through imagined conversations, imagined losses, imagined disasters, imagined rejection, imagined endings. You have allowed tomorrow to enter today and take strength from a moment that had not yet been given to you. Listen carefully. Planning is wisdom. Preparation can be responsible, but constant fear of what may happen is not the same as preparation. You cannot rehearse every possible tragedy and call it peace. At some point, you must decide whether you believe I will still be with you if life takes a road you did not expect. That is the deeper question. Not, will everything happen exactly the way I want, but will I still be held if it does not? Yes, you will still be held. You may grieve. You may need time. You may need help from people I place around you. You may have to begin again, but you will not walk alone. The disciples on the road to Emmaus believed hope had died. They walked with disappointment beside them, and yet Jesus was nearer than they realized. They were speaking about the one who was walking with them. Think about that. They believed they had lost him while he was beside them, and perhaps you have done the same. You have spoken about my absence while I was sustaining you. You have asked where I was while I was giving you strength to get through another day. You have called yourself abandoned while grace was quietly keeping you from becoming everything the pain tried to turn you into. You are still here, still seeking, still listening, still carrying some desire to believe. That matters. Do not overlook the quiet evidence of grace because you were waiting for something dramatic. Not every answer arrives like thunder. Sometimes it comes as enough strength to get out of bed, enough courage to make the phone call, enough humility to apologize, enough wisdom to say no, enough peace to stop chasing someone who has chosen to leave, enough faith to pray one sentence after weeks of silence. Small mercies are still mercies. Notice them. You have been waiting for me to show you that I am near. But what if the fact that your heart still turns toward me is already part of the answer? What if the desire to come home is evidence that the door is still open? What if this moment is not about receiving every explanation you wanted? What if it is about realizing that you can stop running? My child, come closer. Not physically, in your attention, in your honesty, in your willingness to become quiet enough to notice what fear has been drowning out. You have heard the voice of anxiety. You have heard the voice of regret. You have heard the voice of people who told you what you could never become. You have heard the voice of comparison telling you that you are late. You have heard the voice of shame telling you that you are disqualified. Now hear this truth. You do not need to earn your way back into my presence. Return. You do not need to solve every problem before you pray. Return. You do not need to understand the entire season. Return. You do not need to become stronger before you admit that you are tired. Return. Because the urgency of this moment is not that you should panic about what may happen next. The urgency is that you have spent too long living at a distance from the peace available to you. Today, you keep waiting for your circumstances to give you permission to rest. I am inviting you to rest your heart in me before your circumstances change. You keep waiting for everyone to understand you. I am reminding you that being known by me is deeper than being approved by everyone. You keep waiting to feel worthy enough to begin again. Grace is already calling you forward. And now there is one final burden beneath all the others. One fear you rarely admit. You are afraid that after everything you have been through, you will hope again and be disappointed again. So part of you has chosen a smaller life, smaller expectations, smaller prayers, less vulnerability, less trust. Because if you expect nothing, perhaps nothing can break your heart. But protecting yourself from disappointment can also protect you from obedience. There are doors you will never approach if fear always decides what is possible. There are conversations you will never have if your past always controls your courage. There are gifts you will never use if you keep believing your mistakes have disqualified you. I am not asking you to become reckless. I am asking you not to call fear wisdom. Ask me for discernment. Ask me for courage. Ask me for patience. Then move when it is time to move. Wait when it is time to wait. Speak when truth requires your voice. Remain silent when anger only wants another wound. Rest when exhaustion has made you unable to hear clearly. And pray even when the prayer is only, help me. That prayer is enough to begin. My child, I needed your attention because you have been looking for a sign while ignoring the invitation. The invitation is to come back to trust, not blind denial, not pretending. Trust. The kind of trust that can say, I do not understand this chapter, but I will not abandon the one who is walking with me through it. The kind of trust that can release a person without becoming bitter. The kind of trust that can wait without believing waiting means worthlessness. The kind of trust that can grieve without surrendering hope. The kind of trust that can admit weakness and still take the next faithful step. You thought you needed me to explain everything, but what your heart needs most is to know that you can be held even when explanations are incomplete. That is what I wanted you to understand. You are not forgotten because the answer is delayed. You are not abandoned because the road is difficult. You are not rejected because a door closed. You are not faithless because you became tired, and you are not too far away to return. Come back to the quiet place. Put down the burden of controlling tomorrow. Release the conversation you cannot change. Forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Ask forgiveness where you have caused harm. Receive wisdom from your mistakes. Stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. Rest when you need rest. Pray honestly. Read my words slowly. Take the next faithful step. Then leave the outcome in hands stronger than yours. You have carried enough. You have worried enough. You have replayed enough. You have punished yourself enough. Now begin learning another way to live. With open hands. With honest prayers. With wise boundaries. With patient courage. With faith that does not need to see the whole road before taking one step. And when tonight becomes quiet and your mind tries to gather every fear again, do not fight every thought alone. Bring them to me, one by one, the person you cannot change, the future you cannot predict, the mistake you cannot undo, the answer you cannot force, the pain you cannot explain. Place them before me, and pray simply, God, I cannot carry all of this and remain at peace. Teach me what is mine to do. Give me courage to do it. Show me what is mine to release. Give me faith to let it go. Guard my heart from fear, my mind from endless worry, and my steps from rushing ahead of your wisdom. Help me trust you in the places where I still have questions. Help me receive rest without guilt. Help me begin again without shame. And when I cannot see the whole road, remind me that I am not walking it alone. Amen. My child, remember why your heart was drawn here. You thought you needed an immediate answer. You needed an invitation. Come closer. You thought you needed proof that every problem would disappear. You needed the assurance that difficulty does not mean abandonment. You thought you needed to become stronger. You needed permission to be honest. You thought you needed to know the entire future. You needed enough light for the next step. That is what I am placing before you now. The next step. Not the whole journey. Not every explanation. Not a guarantee that you will never hurt again. The next faithful step. Take it with me. And if you become tired, rest without running away. If you become afraid, speak honestly instead of hiding. If you stumble, return instead of surrendering to shame. If the road becomes quiet, do not assume you have been forgotten. Some of the most important work in your heart will happen in seasons when you cannot yet see this result. The roots are still growing. The morning is still approaching. Grace is still present. And you are still being invited forward. You do not have to hold tomorrow tonight. You do not have to solve every unanswered question before you sleep. Place what you cannot control into God's care. Keep what faithfulness requires in your hands, and walk into the next day with this quiet assurance. You are seen, you are heard, you are loved. And even here, in this unfinished chapter, you do not walk alone.